What's going on, guys? My name is Wade with TechDaily, and in this video, I'm going to go over what I consider to be the best Samsung phones out right now at just about every price point. It's no secret that Samsung released about a billion different phones this year. I've been fortunate enough to try out most of them at this point, and I figured it might be helpful to just sum up which ones I think are worth buying now at the end of 2020 and looking ahead into 2021 as well. Also, if maybe you're doing some holiday shopping, I'll talk about some deals and discounts available too that might make some of these phones even more enticing. And I'll of course have links to everything, all the phones and all the deals down below in the video description for you to check out. First on the list is what I believe is the best all-around value Samsung phone out right now, and that is of course the Samsung Galaxy S20 FE. This phone was released worldwide, so it doesn't really matter where you live, you can probably get it. Here in the US especially, it's widely available unlocked and through carriers, and out of all the phones Samsung launched this year, this is far and away the best device in my opinion. It is essentially the flagship S20 from earlier this year with nearly the same specs, but it's just way cheaper. It technically retails for $699, but right now Samsung, Amazon, and a few other places have discounted this device to $599, and I've seen it as low as $549, which is an incredible price point for this phone. You guys know that this S20 FE is a big 6.5-inch device with a bold, bright AMOLED display with a 120Hz high refresh rate, something not a lot of other devices have, which just makes this phone feel really fast. It packs essentially a flagship camera setup around back, including 30x zoom. It's powered by the Snapdragon 865 chipset, 6 or 8 gigs of RAM. It has an SD card slot, wireless charging, IP68 water resistance, dual stereo speakers. In the US, it's a 5G phone as well. There's literally not a thing that's been cut or compromised with the S20 FE, and if I were getting a Samsung phone right now, or at any point over the next few months even, this is absolutely the one to get. Now, if you're looking for more of a true flagship Samsung smartphone, but maybe don't want to pay flagship prices, I'd actually recommend just getting last year's S10, really for one reason in particular, the price. This is a phone that, yeah, is more than a year old now, but it's depreciated so much that you could actually snag one of these renewed from Amazon for well under $450. That's less than half the price this phone launched for originally. And really, the phone itself isn't even that much of a step down versus what's offered this year. The S10 is powered by the Snapdragon 855. You can get it with 8 gigs of RAM. It has a Quad HD AMOLED display that looks really amazing. And on the software side of things, not only does it already have the latest Android 10 and One UI updates out right now, it'll still be supported for another year or two. I think with how often new phones are launched nowadays, it's easy to forget that year over year, the differences aren't too drastic anymore, and the S10 is a really, really good phone still, with a lot of life left in it. Also, it's sort of widely understood nowadays that Samsung's phones have just an incredibly steep depreciation curve, and this S10 is a prime example of that. Getting a year-old flagship phone at less than half the price is a crazy good deal. If you're looking for the best Samsung phone with a stylus, something from the Note series, I personally would ignore this year's Note 20 and Note 20 Ultra unless you really have a lot of money to spend. I also wouldn't necessarily consider last year's regular Note 10 either, but instead I'd get the Note 10 Lite. This phone actually came out at the start of this year, so it's technically a 2020 device. And don't let the Lite branding fool you. This is absolutely a full-featured Note device from start to finish. It's sort of a sidestep from the flagship Note 10. It has a little less premium of a design and build, but it still packs pretty solid specs and has all of the features and functions of Samsung's Note series that might otherwise cost you $1,000. And in fact, now for the Note 10 Lite, you aren't even paying half that. This phone unlocked on Amazon is available for just a little over $400. And at that price, you are absolutely getting the full Samsung Note experience. There's nothing that this phone can't do that the Note 10 and even this year's Note 20 can can do. There's no limitations with the S Pen, nothing taken away on the software side of things. You're missing out on absolutely no features at all in going with the Note 10 Lite, and that makes this phone easily the best deal right now if you are into the stylus. It's far and away the Note device to get, and like I said, this phone isn't even a year old yet, so it has a ton of life left in it too. For those of you who want as big of a phone as possible, but maybe don't want to spend a lot of money for it, the best big phone value from Samsung, in my opinion, is the A21s. This phone can be bought from prepaid networks, from big carriers, as an unlocked device, and it's widely available around the world. And for around $200, I think it is the best balance of budget and features. It offers a massive 6.5-inch display. It's powered by Samsung's new Exynos 850 chipset, which proved to be way better than expected. And probably best of all, this phone packs a 5,000 milliamp battery, larger than a lot of other phones, even the flagship devices. So it can last a full day and then some on a single charge. It's got a pretty decent camera setup too, a fingerprint sensor around back, which is super helpful nowadays. And if you're wondering about the regular A21, the non-S version of this phone that also came out this year, I would probably skip that one and just go straight for the A21s instead, even if it is a little more money. The A21s is just significantly better, and for that $200 price point, like I mentioned, it's really a good value overall. Now, on the topic of big batteries, if you want the longest lasting Samsung phone available right now that also has some better than average specs, the answer, of course, is the M51. Now, unfortunately, this phone isn't available for everyone. The M series doesn't come to the US, so this is mainly for my international folks out there, but you guys already know how great this device is. The whole reason for getting this phone really would be its 7,000 milliamp battery inside. That's bigger than any other Samsung device available right now by a significant margin, and this phone can last 2 to 3 days on a single charge. It can also even be used as a power bank to charge other devices you might have. Beyond its massive battery, the phone itself packs a great set of specs and features like a massive 6.7-inch AMOLED display, the Snapdragon 730G chipset, 6 or 8 gigs of RAM, and a fantastic camera setup too. It comes in at around $350, and at that price, I think this is far and away one of the best overall deals considering everything you get. Like I said, the only downside really is availability. If you can get this phone, you definitely should. But if it isn't available for you, you might be out of luck. And it's a real shame that a phone like this isn't more widely available, because I really do think it would be super popular, especially here in the US. If big phones really aren't your thing, unfortunately, Samsung didn't do a whole lot in offering small, compact devices this year, but I'll still offer up 2 suggestions worth considering. The first is a phone that was launched this year, the A01, but while this phone might be a great size, you do lose out on specs and performance a bit. The A01 is a 5.7-inch device, which is the perfect size for one-handed use, and technically the smallest Samsung device the company has launched in more than a year now. The downside is it's got just the Snapdragon 439 chipset and 2 gigabytes of RAM inside. Now, if you just need an inexpensive phone for casual everyday use, like phone calls, text messaging, web browsing, and social media, then this is it. And for well under $100, you can't really go wrong. Some carriers might even give you this phone for like $50 or even for free if you sign a service contract. It's got some compromises for sure, but in a world of 6.5-inch devices, this is still a nice change of pace. The other small phone worth considering still is actually an A-series phone from last year, the A10e. And actually, this still remains one of the most popular Samsung phones worldwide this year. At just over 5.8 inches, it's very compact, which is great, but at the same time, it too isn't a particularly powerful phone. It has the Exynos 7884 inside and 2 gigabytes of RAM once again, but this phone is available for well under $100. And honestly, if I could offer Samsung just one suggestion for 2021, it would be to launch a phone under 6 inches that has the flagship specs, even mid-range specs actually. I think it would do really well. Finally, the last 2 Samsung phones I'd still recommend right now are, of course, the A51 and A71. These, I think, for 90% of people out there, are probably some of the best value devices out right now at under $400. And to be honest, I haven't yet heard any real rumors about an A52 or A72 coming soon, so I think you're pretty safe buying these phones for another couple of months at least. These phones came out basically back in January, and throughout the year they've sort of been the benchmark for mid-range devices in my opinion. They each pack some great specs, they have fantastic camera setups, and have been some of my personal favorite devices throughout the whole year. Now I will say this, while I'd absolutely recommend the regular A51 and A71 devices, I'd still probably avoid the A51 5G and A71 5G. Those phones are still a bit overpriced and aren't that much better or different when compared to these. I've already ranted about that a few times now on the channel, so I won't get too into it, but these two phones, as they are, I still think are great buys for right now and beyond. So there you go, those are all the Samsung phones I'd recommend looking into if you're in the market for a new device now, for the holiday season and beyond. Like I said at the start of this video, Samsung has released so many new phones this year, and it can kind of be tough to pick through the list and decide what makes sense. But these are the ones that I think just offer the best specs for their respective price points, or otherwise offer unique and special features. But what do you guys think? Which phones are you considering right now? Do you have any that you think I should have included? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to know your thoughts, of course. And like I mentioned already, I'll leave some links down below in the video description to all of these phones and where you can get them at their cheapest current prices. So don't forget to check down there so you don't miss out on any good deals. But hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Be sure to follow TechDaily on Twitter and subscribe to the TechDaily YouTube channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys later.